Oh my God.
I hope.
Oh my God.
I hope I got picked off.
It definitely did. You gonna check yourself, or
You gotta go safety wipe
It's not wet under the seat.
that we know of.
Oh
It's
my
running on your leg already.
Puffs Plus for you?
All right, gentlemen, episode 26, and I think we've started an episode like this before. Like Adam needs to check his pants.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think
He
this was
just
the first
completely
one.
shit himself. So I have some sad news for you guys. I heard today that the zoo for Tiger King was closed. Not sports related, but
Oh, no.
it is closed.
Oh yeah.
COVID.
Officially, nope.
Just
Gave up his.
Carol didn't want to keep it.
They ran out of roadkill to kill
Yeah.
feed the tigers.
Apparently, he gave up his
Walmart can't stock stuff, so they can't.
USDA license for exotic animals after a judge ruled that the zoo was transferred illegally, or I don't know. Anyway, it's closed. You can't go to Tiger King Zoo anymore.
Sad.
Maybe Mike Tyson will take them in.
Maybe he's kind of busy.
Stray cats.
Some stray cats. So I got a funny story for you guys. I got thinking about this today. I'm like, I got to share this with the guys. So as you guys know, you good over there?
I'm doing well.
Please silence your cell phones.
I'm filling in the league Wednesday nights because somebody got hurt, and the other partner said, "Hey, can you finish out the season for me?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." As you know, I'm not busy, so I said, "Sure, why not? Give me an excuse to go play Wednesday night." So last week was my first week, and I hear the story of they have these group of guys that they hang out after, kind of the same guys. And if you have the highest net, you acquire the dick putter. It is a putter shaped like a penis, and one side's flat. You actually putt with it.
Did you try to get
I
it
have
tonight?
not seen the actual putter. I just heard the story because I left right after last week. And no, because my net is not that high.
Yeah, but you could try.
I'm not part of that group.
And then just never go back.
So there's rules to the dick putter.
Hang that up on the down
The
here.
rule is you lose the dick putter when you lose it. You can't just be like, I'm going to use it for league. They have a rule you're supposed to use it whenever you play, but the guys don't follow that rule. You have to use it during league. And last week, my partner Andy, shout out to Andy, he said I was in the running this week for the dick putter. And he said I had to wait around because I didn't play well. And they came in, he goes, I was tied with somebody else. He was tied with a guy who currently held the dick putter. So he said, oh, well, if it's a tie, does he just keep it? And they said, oh, no. They have what they call a whack-off. And what they do is they go out of the putting green, they throw two balls, the rest of the group picks which putt and which ball, and they both hit the putt, and the closest to the pin wins. The person gets the dick putter. Andy did not acquire the dick putter, but I figured I'd tell you guys a story that that is a thing. They have a dick putter.
I mean, I've seen like pictures on the internet, but I didn't think it was like a real thing.
Yeah, I saw the picture too, and I didn't. But yeah, apparently it's a real thing, and you got to carry it in your bag, and there's no head cover.
I mean, why would you want to?
What if you bought like a condom to throw on top of it? You just kept sliding out of the
Oh boy.
I mean, that's no different than people using iron covers, right? Same thing.
It's right up there.
Yes, it's different. A condom on a dick putter is definitely different than iron covers.
Yeah.
That's just like a high stakes version of playing Snake. We would always do that in Michigan. We'd play the last person to three putt is holding the snake. So whenever you see the beer cart, they have to buy everybody whatever drink they want. And at the turn, if you're holding the snake, you buy everybody a drink. And so on and so forth. Whenever there's the opportunity to buy a drink, if you're holding the snake because you three-putted last, which conveniently seems to happen a lot in our group somehow, the snake gets passed back and forth. Except this is like high stakes because now you're legitimately holding a snake. Yes.
A figurative snake.
Figurative snake, yes.
Huh. All right, we'll move on. No dick putter for me, and don't ever come up with that idea. Say, hey, we should get a dick putter, guys. Like I'm not for it. So let's get started with baseball.
You're not for playing with it?
It's a dad joke. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, I did.
For playing it.
It's been a while since I had one.
Right.
Oh, boy.
So let's start with baseball. The hot news right now is Fernando Tatis Jr.
Junior.
Against the Rangers the other night. He swung at a 3-0 pitch, hit a grand slam in the 8th inning. They were up, I believe, 7 runs. So I guess the $1 million question to all you guys is, are you okay with this? The quote-unquote unwritten rules.
So the reason you're asking is because the opposing manager called him out in the post-game whatever interviews.
And his manager didn't defend him.
Okay. I 100% support Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting a grand slam on a 3-0 pitch. If you don't want me to hit a grand slam on a 3-0 pitch, don't load the bases. Don't give up 7 runs prior to me coming up. And don't serve up a meatball 3-0.
And probably not let the count go to 3-0.
Yeah.
There are certain unwritten rules in sports that I agree with. This one, I don't even... To me, somebody made up the fact that this is an unwritten rule.
I agree.
Because the situation's coming now. It's not a known unwritten rule that you don't hit a 3-0 grand slam when you're up by 7 runs.
I think like something similar to that would be like if you're up 7, you don't steal second base.
Yes.
Like that one makes more sense. Yeah. But 3-0,
You're supposed to stop swinging the bat?
I don't think there's a
Right.
I very rarely I think any these days people are given take signs. You know what I mean? It feels like a guy in the major leagues is smart enough to know,
Right.
you know, should I take this or do I have the green light?
Yeah. So I whoever has a problem with this, much like Adam, probably has a big old dump in their pants. And I think it's so like what are you supposed to do? Go up there and purposely get out?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I read. Somebody said, okay, so you take 3-0, now it's 3-1 because the pitcher's got to be aggressive. He's gonna pipe it,
Yeah.
right? Because the bases are loaded.
Yeah.
Are you gonna walk in a run? So now it's 3-1. Then anything can happen. You foul off a pitch, you swing at a breaking ball because he's being aggressive still. Now it's 3-2, or you ground into a double play, innings over. I've been looking at this from the reverse side. So my opinion is, I've always been a fan of against it. If a guy hits a bomb off you and you're pissed off that he quote unquote pimped the home run, don't fucking throw it down the middle of the plate, right? Don't give up the home run. Like, why should I give a shit if your feelings are hurt? Because if that pitcher goes out and, closes out a big inning with 3 strikeouts or has a big game, do you think he's not out there fist pumping and quote unquote pimping you when he strikes you out?
Yeah.
It's part of the game. It's part of being competitive. If you can't handle it, then don't play. That's just my personal opinion.
I wish he would have flipped the bat and then pimped it around the
Absolutely.
bases.
Absolutely.
I mean, he ran around the bases, not like he dogged it.
So here's my actual...
And 7 runs is not a ton in Major League.
Right.
I forget. It was like 7th inning, too. It wasn't...
It was the 8th inning. They were up by 7, but it was in Texas, so Texas still had two at bats.
Which is nothing.
So here's my hang up with this. The manager basically didn't defend him. The other manager's pissed off and instructs his pitcher to throw at whoever was next. I can't remember who was up. Machado.
He was ready. Machado was ready for it.
Yeah. So my issue with this is a couple things. We're only playing 60 games this year, so games mean a lot more. So as a manager, if I'm a GM, I'd say to the manager, okay, you're pissed off. Are you telling me you basically were packing it in for the night because you were down 7?
Right.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
These guys shouldn't be swinging at pitches because they basically already have the game in the bag? Because if that's the case, then I don't want you to be a manager. I don't need you. I can find somebody else who's going to be motivating and try to win ball games because, oh, by the way, we're only playing 60 games. One game could make a difference. If you stop playing in the 8th inning because you're down 7, then find somebody else who's going to, A, either manage better or B, play harder.
Yeah. And I've been looking a lot. I have not seen anybody that's like, he should not have done that.
No.
So someone that we know from the area got drafted.
It was Dan.
Yeah, did you see his tweet?
I did.
So he said, I've always wondered why hitters take on 0-0 counts and take 3-0. He goes, I was burned a handful of times, and it was my own fault. Laying an 87-mile-per-hour fastball down the pipe. Carlos Gomez hit a leadoff 400-foot tank off me first pitch, and I'll never forget it. Good hitters should and will feast on that.
Those are your best pitches to hit. 3-0. Don't care what the score is. 3-0, probably 0-0.
Right. And you think about his time there, and you always see it. Usually first pitch of the game is a fastball, more than likely.
I don't know. I used to have a Little League coach who was like, take the first pitch. I'm like, if that thing's coming up the pipe, it's going back out where it came from. I'm not going to take the first pitch. The other tweet I saw was from Trevor Bauer, who tweeted at Tatis. This is a great. I love Trevor Bauer, by the way.
I saw this. I think Trevor Bauer has become a clown, to be honest with you. But I know you're going to read, and I like this one.
He said, hey, Tatis, listen up. 1, keep swinging 3-0 if you want to, no matter what the game situation is. 2, keep hitting homers no matter what the situation is. 3, keep bringing energy and flash to baseball, making it fun, which we've talked about. Baseball lacks in that category. And 4, the only thing you did wrong was apologize. Stop that. And I agree with him. I mean,
and that's a pitcher saying that.
Yeah.
Right.
But the whole, the statement of keep hitting home runs 3-0. So if he had hit a 2-run double instead, if it wasn't a home run, if he just hit a line drive to the gap on 3-0 and scored 2 runs, are we still having this argument?
Right. No, it's a great.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right? I mean, obviously not the same thing, but yeah, you're still, instead of putting up 4 runs, you 2 runs.
Yeah.
It's.
So, yeah, anybody that's got a problem with this, just.
And then the next night, he
keep
stole.
Him moving.
Keep him moving. He stole third. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
No.
He stole third. The pitcher hadn't even wound up yet. He just got the ball back. Was getting set. He just took off.
Well, again, pay attention.
Yeah.
He's got the potential to be like one of the faces of baseball.
Yes,
so
100%.
Even at what, 21?
He's 21. He's barely old enough to buy a beer.
And even I don't know when he said this quote. He said, "The game is hard enough for everyone. Why not just celebrate and have fun?"
100%.
Right? I mean.
Yep.
If you don't like it, then don't give up the home run.
And
Play better.
I don't know if the pitcher even said anything, obviously, besides throwing at Machado. But even then, he tried to throw at him. He threw it 3 feet behind his back. So
it's to me, you're a professional athlete. Whose feelings are we trying to protect? Yeah. You all have been on the other side of that. You think you weren't?
Right.
It's not like you've always been on the wrong side of it and you've gotten your ass kicked. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it if you're a professional athlete.
Yeah.
I don't understand whose feelings we're trying to protect. I hope the next time he gets up to Texas, if he hits a home run, he'll just absolutely bat flip of the year.
Right.
Walks to first base and then slowly trots and dances around the rest of them.
Or Odor might punch him coming around second.
Just ridiculous. I didn't understand that. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he did. I think it's I think the manager should be questioned. Be like, first of all, why aren't you backing your player?
Right. So we were talking about this the other day, and I was trying to think from his perspective. So he's a first-year coach. I don't know if he was trying to take
I heard he worked under the Texas Rangers current.
So I don't know if he was trying to take hey, I'll be the nice guy. Hey, he shouldn't have swung. I think he even said he missed a take sign.
Yeah. I did hear that.
But yeah, I don't know if he's just trying to be good. But we were talking, he should have probably been no, I support it. And then you could have a talk with him after the game. Be like, hey, in that situation, maybe you don't do that. But you should back him. And that, watching the Braves game last night, they were talking about Englavin and Jeff Francoeur were both saying Bobby Cox. He said he would have supported you 100% at the time, and then he probably would have pulled you aside later and said, hey, listen, maybe we don't do that, or
that's good leadership.
Yeah. So
I don't know whose feelings are trying to protect, but it's bullshit. I don't care if he swung at. I hope he does it again.
I ordered a player T-shirt of him last night.
Did you?
Yeah, why not?
This guy.
Why not?
He's fun. I've been trying to watch them play just because I knew he was a young guy who was just kind of tearing it up this year. So every time I have MLB TV, but I've been trying to flip him on and watch him every night. He's exciting. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
And what he's done is what we've talked about already is baseball lacks in the glamour or the attraction. People don't really watch baseball. It's quote unquote boring to watch. But what he did the other night, what they're not talking about or paying attention to, is he did for baseball what they need. They're talking about it. They're talking about baseball right now. So they should be thankful for that.
And I think there's a lot of those young guys nowadays that have that similar personality. Acuna's got it.
Yeah.
Soto's got it.
That flash.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta. Whatever. I would have told everybody. I would have done my press conference and be like, "You guys can all kiss my ass." Because here's the other thing too. I don't know how baseball contracts work, but I do know that they probably work somewhat similar to other sports, where there might be incentive based in there.
Yeah.
And there might, I don't know, maybe it's different because there's only 60 games this year. But, maybe there's something in there with RBIs or hits or home runs or something. You're supposed to just take a seat and lay off because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings on the other side of the field for an unwritten rule.
Right. And he's still on his rookie contract, so it's not like he's making a ton of money. And he's
right.
He's playing to make money in his next contract.
He's got to put up stats.
Right.
Because they matter. Before we move on to hockey, I do want to give you a Jose Altuve update because we haven't talked about this in a while. I won't go deep into the whole Astros, which they are above 500 as a team. However, Altuve is batting 168 with 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, and he's had 21 strikeouts in his first 20 games. 168. And as we mentioned either last week or the week before, like we talked about, him not having a good year that just makes it look worse.
Yeah.
Like all the bullshit that went on.
Yep.
It's hockey time. Do you want to talk about it? Are we talking about it? Ricky, are we talking about it?
We can talk about hockey all you want.
So, what game were we watching the other night? Was it the Carolina game where the guy scored like 4 seconds left to tie it? They went to review. It was after we did our last podcast. I think.
Oh, when you were texting that it was a goal because the commentator wasn't even sure if it was the
he
chest
kept saying
or
it
if
was the
the
shoulder,
goal
and I was
line,
like, "Isn't it the crossbar?"
or he swatted it down midair.
That was a Western Conference game. No, it was a St. Louis game.
Yeah, it was a St. Louis.
Was it St. Louis?
Yep. Pierre Maguire. Because Pierre Maguire's in Edmonton.
Okay. So yeah, I've been watching a shitload of hockey. I've probably watched 10 times more hockey than I've watched NBA, and I've watched zero NBA.
I've watched no NBA. I've been watching a lot of hockey. I'm watching it at the moment, gazing over your shoulder.
So do you think is hockey? Do you think it's going as you expected right now? I mean, they're doing great with the whole bubble thing, but are teams winning you expected?
Are teams winning than I expected?
Like Colorado looked great yesterday.
So I want to talk.
today.
I want to talk about Colorado, but there were some matchups in the qualifying round that didn't go as people would have expected. So there are some teams in this. In my opinion, the playoffs have started now with this round.
Right.
So there's some teams in this round that people wouldn't have expected. But so far, most of these matchups are going as I thought they would. We've had, as of like an hour ago, 4 teams have already advanced to the next round. So Boston just beat Carolina. I spelled that wrong. Boston beat Carolina. Tampa Bay beat Columbus this afternoon to advance. Vegas won over Chicago last night, so they advanced. And then Colorado just finished their absolute ass-kicking of the Arizona Coyotes.
That was an ass kicking.
The whole series was an ass-kicking.
Yeah.
So they won 4-1. Somehow Arizona won a game.
Yeah.
I think I added up that Colorado outscored them 22-6.
Oh, so that's close.
In the 5 games.
Right. Said nobody ever.
Yeah.
And Colorado won the last 2 games 7-1, which 7-1 in hockey is equivalent of like 50-10 in a football game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an ass kicking, and to do that 2 games in a row.
You mean they didn't lay down and like pull the goalie so they could catch up, and break any unwritten rules?
I mean, they kind of laid down in the third. They only scored 1 in the third today.
Played 4 on 5.
Yeah. So I don't know how much of that series you've watched, but
I watched most of it.
Colorado, couple things jumping out of me. Colorado looks unstoppable right now. Their power play is one of the best power plays I've seen in the last decade.
Yep.
if you take penalties against Colorado,
You're done.
if you take 6 penalties in a game, they're probably scoring 3.
Squeak.
They're probably scoring three power play goals on those 6 power plays.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You guys are throwing me off here.
What? What happened?
He's got spiders barking over in the corner.
Yeah.
We've talked about players in the past, and I've continually said Connor McDavid is the number 1 player in the world in hockey, and I put Nathan MacKinnon at 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
McKinnon is closing that gap between him and McDavid
Quickly.
Because McKinnon really plays the overall game.
If he does something
Defensive,
special,
I mean,
overall in this postseason,
yeah,
it'll be real close. Even I think the only thing that holds him back potentially from is goaltending. It's the only thing I think they could hold them back from getting to the Stanley Cup. They're solid, but I think that's probably the weakest part of their.
Now Arizona was not the strongest matchup. I admit that, but they didn't just beat them; they absolutely smoked them.
Right.
Goaltending, could be an issue, but if you keep averaging 5 goals a game,
it shouldn't be an issue at that point.
Doesn't matter if you give up 3 or 4. So,
yeah, I mean Vegas looked good.
yeah, Vegas looked outstanding.
Tampa was. I think they played solid. They did enough to win. Obviously, Columbus is a good matchup for them, though. And Boston, well, I think that the injury to Svechnikov kind of hurt them a little bit, but
Svechnikov, that's a whole other topic I didn't even think about.
Yeah,
Andrei Svechnikov on Carolina got tangled up with Boston defender Zdeno Chara, fell awkwardly, and unfortunately, in hockey, when you fall and your legs fold up a little bit, your skates usually grab the ice, and it ends up being very, very ugly.
Did you watch it yet or no?
Yeah.
All right.
They didn't officially announce he got the dreaded lower body injury. If I had to guess, his leg was broken.
Oh yeah, and they kept showing him the past 2 games in the stands, but you can't see his lower body, so you don't know if there's a cast on.
No, they showed one that he did. He had a cast on his leg. Yep. And then Jack Edwards, who is one of the all-time clowns in sports announcing. He's Boston's home announcer, and he's known for making, I don't know, very controversial statements,
remarks, and
so he said something about Svechnikov was battling with Chara, and when you poke the bear. I should just pull up the quote. When you poke the bear, sometimes you get what you deserve. And this kid basically broke his leg, and Jack Edwards tweeted that, well, he shouldn't have been out there battling in play, and he got what he deserved.
And Chara did
like that.
Sweep his leg out from under him.
I only watched it once, the replay, so I guess I don't know.
Yeah, he kind of brought his leg up to kind of. I don't think he meant to I think it was more to knock him off balance, but. He kind of swept his leg out from under him, and it was not pretty, his leg going down. So,
the one interesting thing that probably nobody noticed, so that replay when Svechnikov is falling, Carolina player shoots the puck, misses the net, and hits referee Kevin Pollock in the jaw.
Oh, really?
And breaks his jaw, and now he's out of the entire playoff.
I saw he was out, but I didn't know why.
He's the most seasoned. He's one of the more veteran referees with the most experience in playoffs. He's probably one of the best referees hockey has. And yeah, you see the slow-mo replay, Svechnikov falling, and the puck goes behind Chara and hits Kevin Pollock right in the jaw, breaks his jaw. So they had to, on one play, player breaks his leg.
Nobody noticed it.
Ref breaks his jaw. Yeah.
Jeez.
Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit about hockey here.
Go on.
I don't have a dad joke, but someone tweeted a dad joke today after.
He's trying not to lay claim to this one.
It was his burner account.
It definitely was not mine.
Account.
After Tampa beat Columbus today, Down Goes Brown tweeted, said, "It's not regular season, but the Blue Jackets keep going to overtime and getting a point. Braden Point scored 2 overtime game winners against them in the series."
That's a dad joke.
He said he was trying to delete it after because it was ultimate dad joke, and he.
So Philly could close it out tonight.
It could.
Who's the other series in the East?
Islanders and Caps.
They must play tomorrow.
They play tomorrow.
Thursday.
Yes. Thursday, so today is your...
Yep.
Capitals a dog in that series?
Capitals look like they're not interested in playing. So
I don't know if they were favored or not in that. I assume they ended up being the 4-5, right? Because they didn't play well, or maybe it was the 3-6.
What do you got, stat boy?
Anyway, yeah.
No, Boston was the.
Oh yeah, so it must have been the 3-6.
Yeah. Either way, Washington should be favored in that series. They're 2 years off a Stanley Cup with basically the same team. The Islanders are just one of those workhorse teams that go out there and work their bags off, kind of like Columbus.
They have a couple of good players, some guys that could be superstars, and they just play.
They're just one of those hardworking workhorse teams, and they're outworking the Capitals. Capitals look like they have no interest, and
until the third period last night.
Yeah, and Braden Holtby, who has their goalie, who has really helped carry them the last few years, has been absolutely horrible.
Yeah, he's been garbage.
And he's asking about which matchup the
Washington Capitals and New York Islanders.
The Capitals are 3 and Islanders are 6.
Okay,
I mean, if
3 and 6.
You're looking for seeding. I don't know. Yeah, I guess has it that way or not, but
yeah. Those are by the standings. So so Washington should be favored in that in that series.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Holtby's been horrible.
Right,
their goalie.
The Ovechkin's have to, if they want any part of coming back in the series. Ovechkin, and obviously he played well last night, but he's going to have to carry them.
Yep.
So, and that's what you don't want to wake him because he could go off.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Agreed.
Which is obviously hard to do in hockey. It's not like basketball. Like you're 1 of 5 and you can just hang on to the puck and just skate around and score whenever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Do you want to give an RIP?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know if I'll say his last name right. I don't want to ruin it.
All right. So, on a serious note, Hockey Hall of Famer Dale Howardchuk passed away yesterday. I believe he had a long battle with stomach cancer. He journeyman at the end of his career. He spent most of his career with the Winnipeg Jets and the Buffalo Sabres. He was only 57.
Jesus.
And he was, I believe, currently coaching one of the Canadian junior teams.
Right.
So he was still active in hockey, but Hall of Famer, passed away just 57 years old. So sad to hear that.
That's shitty.
Yep. Not much else to add to that, but
no.
Worth mentioning.
Got any more hockey over there, Polish kid?
No. I'm playing hockey in Poland right now, so.
All right. So we'll move on to the UFC. Oh, we watched.
Yeah, somebody else had to go to work.
Yeah, Daddy had to go to work and missed the main event the other night. Did you go to work?
What can I say? Booty call.
It wasn't like oh, it's like I gotta leave. Literally, the guys were getting ready to walk out for the main event, and he's just gonna. Daddy's gotta go to work.
It must have been serious because it wasn't like he didn't text her back and say, "Hey, I'll be over in like a half hour. I'm watching this fight." It was, "Hey guys, gotta go." You watched like 10 fights the other night, and the one fight everyone wanted to watch, you're like, "I gotta go."
I don't have a good rebuttal here.
So anyway, the UFC the other night. I thought the fights were fairly good. There was a couple chess matches that some people would probably classify as not good. The one thing I do want to touch on, because this has been driving me nuts since it happened, was I don't like or dislike the guy, but Sean O'Malley's supposed to be the next up-and-coming fighter in UFC. He's got the flash.
Yeah, according to him.
No, he was undefeated going in the other night. And he lost his fight to Chito Vera, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's the reactions to him losing?" Chito Vera was in his press conference. I'm not gonna take anything away from him, but he's in his press conference talking about how great he was in the fight. And the other thing I can think of is Sean O'Malley got hurt in the first round, And you could tell for a while, like, something was wrong with his leg. He went down twice by himself.
Yeah, like a minute and a half before before the fight got called.
And Herb Dean stopped that fight, so Herb clearly saw it because on the ground there wasn't a lot going on when he stopped it. No. He just stopped
He
it.
threw like maybe 4 punches.
Yeah.
4 or 5 punches, and he called it.
I don't think we'll ever know this exactly, but I think you could even argue he didn't get hurt in the fight. He was hurt prior to the fight.
That's possible.
Because he had a similar leg injury his last fight or something, and
it was same leg, I heard.
Yeah, it's basically the same. It looks like some sort of a nerve issue where he.
Did you see him
like
on a
loses
stretcher?
feeling.
Right after I saw a picture posted of them taking him out, like rolling him out on a stretcher, and his knee was just a big purple ball.
It was his knee.
Yeah, it was like I don't know if he blew his ACL or what happened there, but there's some serious tearing.
Well, if you get kicked in the right spot, there's a nerve runs down the back of your leg. Yeah. So if something happened with that, like you're saying,
the way he stumbled made it look like his foot was numb, which makes me think of that nerve issue because they've talked about how if you have so many calf kicks, it'll hit that nerve, make that go numb. We've seen other guys do the same thing where it looks like the foot goes completely numb and you just stumble all of a sudden.
Yeah, he went to make a shot and you saw him. It's like he couldn't even pick his foot up off the ground. He just drug it along the mat.
It's like having your foot fall asleep.
It's like me trying to get off the toilet.
Exactly. But so I think that was the issue. And then when he fell, he probably twisted his knee up. But to me, this is, yes, it goes in the loss column, but this was such a fluky thing that may have been pre-existing that I don't count this fight against O'Malley. You give Vera credit; he did what he had to do to get a win in his win column. But
because the other thing I disagree with is they're talking about like, oh, what's next for O'Malley, and I'm like, why don't we find out if the guy's hurt?
Yeah,
let's find out if he's healthy, if he's got something going on. And
I don't know what that was. Sorry,
he's just Polish. Don't worry about it.
I think that was the fight I was like, well, after I saw O'Malley a couple of days prior, what he looked like, I was like, yeah, this is the guy.
He dyed his hair the Ecuador flag to kind of troll him.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's his style. I mean, he's very flashy. He is good. He is really good. He just run into some injuries. He run into some USADA issues. I don't think that fight was a true picture of his ability. I really don't. And I think before we start talking about him getting his one loss and who he fights next and what's next for him, they need to talk about whether or not he's healthy or not, what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if this is twice in a row, then something's clearly wrong with him.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, Vera gets the win. He's probably like, oh, it's a win in a win column. But like, I agree with you. That whole like loss for O'Malley isn't really a loss. He didn't really have, I mean, his leg was not functioning and quickly.
Yeah.
But the other fight obviously was the main event that, Taylor, you didn't watch. So we'll recap it for you real quick while you were being the mayor of Pound Town. Cormier and Miocic, this went exactly how I thought it was going to. And I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I know I'm going to shock both of you. Congrats to Cormier on a great career. In theory, he did. He had a great career.
You going to drop the mic? No.
Nope. He had a good career, but as I pointed out to you, he's got 4 losses, technically 5, right? Or no, it would be 4 with a no contest. Or yes,
it's through.
He double checked Cormier's.
It's 3 with 1 no contest.
Yeah, so
which in reality is 4 losses.
4 losses.
Yes.
So his 4 losses came to the 2 guys he couldn't wrestle.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that was. He can't wrestle. He definitely couldn't wrestle John. He didn't wrestle Miocic. He actually tried to wrestle Stipe in the first round, and it didn't work. Stipe got up pretty quick. Yep. And then he got poked in the eye, which everybody was talking about. And that's all everybody talked about was how he looked like Forrest Whitaker after the fight, but nobody's talking about how he poked Stipe in the eye the first 2 fights and then again in the first or second round of this fight.
First.
I mean, Stipe had to have surgery. That's why he walks around wearing glasses now.
Yeah, and I thought obviously not a big.
They have him at 22-3-0.
22-3-0.
3-0. Who does?
ESPN.com.
Well, that's your mistake.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I didn't realize they were fake news, but okay.
Check Wikipedia.
UFC stats has him at 22-3-0-1 non-contest.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what. Yeah.
Yep.
Technically 4 losses.
So he's lost to Stipe twice now. He's in reality lost to Jon Jones twice, but one of them Jones failed the drug test, therefore it was considered no contest.
He knocked him out, but then after the fact, it was like a failed drug test.
Yeah, obviously I'm not as big a UFC fan as you two, but Stipe kind of controlled that for the first 9 minutes, and Cormier kind of had a little spurt at the end of the second.
Yeah,
and he caught him a couple times, but I was in the end.
He got saved by the bell in the second round.
Yeah, right. But he
Stipe
had a couple.
Almost ended that.
I don't know. It was like, maybe it was like 2 minutes left in the second. He had a little spurt before Stipe caught him.
Yeah,
but
you throw 30 seconds on the clock, that fight's over in the second round.
Right. Yeah, I thought. Yeah. I mean, and I don't remember what the judges. I would have said it was probably 4-1. I think they called it 3-2.
So 2 of the judges had it 4-1.
One had it 3-2, right?
One had it 3-2. I thought I took a picture of this. One of the judges, I had it 4-1. Yep, I have it right here. So one of the judges had it 4-1. He gave what the hell's their name? Okay. So one of the judges gave Cormier round 1, which I guess I could see. The other judge who ruled it 4-1, he gave Cormier round 4. Which I don't know if that's...
Well, he definitely never wins round 3, as we heard, because he takes that one off.
Okay, and then the other judge who went 3-2 gave him rounds 1 and 4. So that's how they scored. But yeah, 2 of the judges had... 2 of them had 4-1, one of them had 3-2. I had a 4-1.
Yeah.
So I think... So the part we didn't mention, Cormier is retiring now.
He's done.
This was his last fight. He'll probably go back to broadcasting. He broadcasts a lot of the UFC events.
He does some work with Ariel Helwani on ESPN.
Yeah.
They have their own show.
As a fighter, I'm not a fan of him. It's probably because I'm a Jones fan.
Yeah.
I will fully admit Cormier is an extremely good fighter. He is, absolutely. But
there it is.
When he is, I think there's a difference between commentator Cormier and fighter Cormier.
Yeah.
He's very good at the commentating part. I give him that. He's a very good fighter, but when he fights, he almost has this WWE personality where he's like hyping himself up as the greatest ever, talking about being the champ at both weight classes, light heavy and heavy.
Yep.
But to me, you can't go on calling yourself the greatest ever when, as we just mentioned, you have 2 fights against Stipe, who's the greatest heavyweight ever, and you have 2 fights against Jon Jones, who is the greatest fighter ever, and you're 0-4 in those fights.
Right.
It's hard to call yourself the greatest ever when you're 0-4 against those guys.
It's like the greatest journeyman ever.
Well, didn't he beat Stipe once?
He did. It was.
Yeah.
He did.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
It's basically, I mean, in my opinion, it's a fluke.
So yes, he's 1-4 in those fights.
He caught him coming out of a clinch and threw an uppercut and knocked him out.
So So yes, I forgot about that. But
either way,
you're 1-4 against, in my opinion, 2 of the greatest fighters ever.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So I think it's more of just his ego and the way he, I don't know, flaunts himself up as being the greatest fighter in history, when the facts say he isn't.
I mean, if you're going to get in the ring and get punched in the face, you got to have that confidence that you're great.
I agree.
But at the same time, you can't truly believe that you're the greatest fighter ever when you've never even come close to beating Jon. Never.
Right. Yeah.
It was a fluke. You knocking out Stipe was a fluke. And then Stipe did to him what standing up that he usually does to people. He pinned him against the cage and got double underhook under his armpits and just made his life miserable.
Yep.
And wasn't there rumor that Stipe had some sort of a knee or shoulder injury or something in the first fight? And he basically said I wasn't healthy, and in the second fight you're going to see the real me.
That's definitely possible.
I thought I remembered that.
That's definitely possible.
Because there was a clear difference between fights 1 and 2 between those 2 guys.
Right.
So Travis Sanheim just got put into the front row by somebody from behind. Oof. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't. I think that Stipe is solidified as the greatest heavyweight of all time. I think even if
I don't either.
What's that?
You do or do not?
I do.
Oh, okay.
What did you think I said?
I'm kind of watching the hockey.
Oh.
I thought you said do not. I was wondering who you were.
No, I think Stipe is the greatest heavyweight
Yes.
we've ever seen.
Yes.
Even if Cormier wins that fight, he's still not the greatest heavyweight we've ever seen. Still Stipe.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep. I thought you said did not, so I was wondering what name you were going to throw out there.
Oh.
The only other one that comes to mind for me is Cain Velasquez had a very dominant run, whenever that was.
Yeah.
6 to 8 years ago or whatever.
Well,
To me, in my time watching UFC, he's the only other one that you could kind of make an argument for. But
he was the reason that Cormier went down.
Yes, he was.
He didn't want to fight Cain because they were friends.
Yeah.
So he went to 205.
Yes.
Obviously it wasn't even close to, but if Cormier wins that fight, do they fight again?
No.
Nah.
He's done.
No, I'm saying if Cormier would have won that fight and he had the belt.
I think he would have.
Oh.
If Cormier had the belt, would Stipe and him have fought again?
No. I think he would have still retired. He still would have vacated. And Stipe's next fight would have still been for the belt.
Yeah. And I also don't think we've ever had two fighters fight 4 times.
I don't think so. I was trying to think. I don't think
I think the UFC probably understands that the value of
it diminishes.
Yeah.
And obviously
diminishing
they're
returns on
42 and 38 or whatever their ages are. So
yeah, Stipe just turned 38 this week, right?
Yeah.
Today.
Happy birthday, Stipe.
Yep.
Dude, that guy's a riot to listen to.
Yeah.
Did you see the clip of him going around with the 2 reporters were trying to ask the question at the same time?
No.
You didn't?
No.
So you got to look it up, but he's in the table, and he's just after the fight. And someone's like, Stipe. And somebody else says the same thing, and he's like pointing. He's pointing. Then he's like, fight for it. Fight for it. Fight for it. He's like trying to get 3 reporters to fight. But good for him, man. Good guy. He made a lot of money. I read that Cormier got made around $530,000 for the fight. And Stipe made $750,000, which is
it's good money for 25 minutes.
That's public money that you know about. I mean, there's probably other monies out there, but
2-0. 1-1. Sorry, 1-1.
So good for him. But the reason we talk about these fights is, what do you ask?
So, is it Rosenstruck? Is that how you say his name?
Yes.
Will he have a chance at the belt or no? Obviously, we know we're going to talk about it here in a second, but
So there's some congestion right now. So let's just bring it up. John vacated the light heavyweight belt. John's done fighting at 205. We all saw this coming, and the guy is just a big guy for 205. It was almost inevitable. 9.5 years it's been since anybody other than Cormier or Jones has held that belt. 9.5 years. What were you doing 9.5 years ago, Daddy? Not taking booty calls.
Before I answer
You're
that,
still in, like,
do you know who
still
one of
in
your
middle
newest
school.
listeners is?
Who?
My mother.
oh, nice.
Hi, Mom.
Dude, that's why his face is red as a tomato.
9.5 years ago, I was
Hi, Mom. How
maybe
are ya?
learning to drive.
Yeah.
Not that I'm any good at it now, but
This is
This is even
funny.
better.
This is funny now. My mom, I'll say hi to my mother. She listens to every episode too, so I'm always careful about what I say.
already not a fan of me, huh?
I don't know. We'll find out after this episode.
So it's been 9.5
They can't
years.
see you, so it's okay.
So before we go too far to the heavyweight, what you just said, nobody else has worn or had the light heavyweight title. So they did announce today that Dom Reyes and Jan
Blachowicz.
whatever the hell it is, Blachowicz. So they're fighting September 26th for the vacated light heavyweight belt.
That was quick.
No, that fight was planned.
Oh, and then okay,
Yep. So the fight was planned. It's just now for the belt. I
Yep.
think that it was kind of the issue was pressed with John making the announcement.
Yeah. That was
And Reyes today came out and said the reason that John's moving up is because after he fought me and after he fought Thiago, he realizes we're too fast for him, which might be one of the dumbest things anybody could ever say. Where he's leaving a division he's cleaned out again to go to a extremely congested heavyweight.
Yep.
So to answer your question, do I think Rosenstruck is going to get a title fight? Probably not. And the answer to that is, one, John's not going to fight this year. You will not see Jon fight this year at all. What's going to happen is Nagano's going to get the heavyweight title fight.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yes.
And that fight probably at the earliest isn't going to happen until maybe December.
Because Rosenstruck is 3, right?
Yes.
So
he's right around there. But the other fight announced, is Curtis Blades is going to fight Derek Lewis, I believe. Statman will look it up. That fight was also announced within the last couple days. And if Lewis wins again, you kind of got to throw his name in the hat.
Yeah. Whichever one of those guys wins that fight, you got to throw their name out there.
Absolutely.
To me, I see. You got Rosenstruck, man.
It's really congested up there.
It is. I think you get Francis Ngannou and Stipe, like you said, late December, probably towards that. Like they always do a card between Christmas and New Year's.
Yep.
A big card. So I think we'll see Ngannou and Stipe then, and probably around the same time. Well, when is that fight?
That fight is November 28th.
Oh.
So that's
Okay.
like Thanksgiving
Then
weekend,
right
probably.
So they're going to have that
Fight
sorted out
would
by
be
then.
like,
So I think the winner of Blades Lewis
get a shot.
probably
After
gets
that.
the next shot at
Over
Ngannou,
Jon.
Stipe. I'm not. I think Jones is coming into the heavyweight division at a weird time. I don't think
He is.
Do you think Dana will make him prove himself for a fight?
No.
I'm starting to lean towards yes.
I don't think he will, just for the sake of maybe that's what Dana wants. But we've seen it. We're seeing it right now. If Jon doesn't want to fight, he's not going to fight.
Right.
And his argument's going to be,
But
I've defended the title, the light heavyweight title. He's got more like title defenses than anybody, right?
But if you're Dana, why don't you say, you got to take on the winner of Lewis and Blades and say, hey, if you beat them, then you can have a shot at the title.
Because Daniel Cormier moved up to heavyweight and got an instant title shot. Then he dodged Stipe to take a cheap fight.
But was it as congested then as it is now?
There was people there probably could have got a title fight. Derek Lewis was up there. He made Lewis fight. Stipe was coming off a win of Nagano. Right. He just beat Francis. It's probably more congested now.
Yeah.
But Jon's probably, it doesn't do Jon any good to come out and just fight anybody heavyweight if it's not for a belt.
Right.
Why would you risk your legacy to come out and get whiffed by one punch from Nagano or somebody else and get knocked out?
Well, if you want to move up, I guess.
Yeah, but it's
I understand what you're saying.
it's just money to him. Like
Right.
why would you risk it at this point in your career?
And I guess from your standpoint, for Dana, if he's going to sell a shitload pay-per-views if he puts Jones in a title fight.
Right. And do you see
Yes.
Jones coming back to fight for? He hasn't fought for a non-title fight in 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he's held it, though, so it's...
Yeah.
We're going to see a completely different Jon Jones, I think. It's going to be, in my opinion, a lot less of the world-class striker and more of the world-class grappler. Because, everybody says the same thing. When you're fighting heavyweight, it just takes one shot. I don't care who you are.
Yes.
You're not going to see the world beater that comes out and just starts swinging for the fences. You're going to see his wrestling background.
Jones has shown in the past he has a chin at light heavy, but he has never gone through a row of guys like that are currently at the top of
Right.
the heavyweight division. Stipe, not so much, but Ngannou, Lewis, Rosenstrike, and Blades I don't know a ton about. I've seen him a couple times, but those three really, any of those could knock Jones out with one punch. Yes, giving him a title shot would be a huge seller for the UFC, but I think giving him a main event against any of those guys is going to sell.
Right.
Whether it's
I think
for a title or
anything
not.
with Jones' name as moneymaker for them.
Yeah.
I think Stipe and Nagano fight. Blades and Lewis are going to fight. What the UFC hope happens, they hope that Stipe beats Nagano. They'll never say this. But the ideal situation for them is Stipe beats Nagano and Jon and Stipe fight each other. The greatest heavyweight of all time is fighting the greatest light heavyweight of all time.
Yes.
That's selling tickets. That's selling or pay-per-views. Probably no tickets. And then whoever wins that fight is probably going to fight Derek Lewis if he wins this fight. That's my prediction. That's the ideal situation for the UFC right now. The ideal.
And somebody balls will be hot then.
Oh, yeah. That's just my take on it. I just feel like Jon's got nothing. I mean, he's got nothing to gain by coming back and just saying, yeah, I'll take a fight, a heavyweight. Why risk getting knocked out? And
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we all agree with that statement. But if you're also, I mean, if Blades and Lewis are already fighting, but at some point you can argue the same thing for those guys. I know they don't have the history that Jones does, although Jones has kind of sat on the sidelines for a majority of the last 4 or 5 years. He's only got a couple fights in that time.
he had he came back for what, three fights last year. He fought Santos. We came back, fought Cormier. He fought Santos. Fought Reyes.
All last year?
I think so. Can you look up what Jon fought last year? I thought he fought and he wanted to stay pretty active, and then
I don't think he fought.
Not Cormier. Cormier's been up at heavyweight for. Cormier's last 3 fights been against Stipe.
In 2019, I've only got 2 fights. Yeah. Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos. One was in July and one was in March.
Did he have one at the end of 2018?
He fought Alexander Gustafsson on December 29th. That stacked up Christmas card.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That was your birthday.
He fought 3 times quick. Said
Happy
he wanted to stay.
birthday.
Yeah, he wanted to stay active. I knew that. That's what I'm thinking of. It was like at the end of the year, then quickly after that. So his last fight was when?
His last fight was July 6th, 2019.
So he hasn't fought in a year.
So let's say...
Oh, I'm wrong. Saturday, February 8th, 2020, he fought Dominic Reyes. Yeah.
Sorry, Stat Boy.
Yeah.
We won't see him next week.
Getting waved.
I guess, I'm as big a Jones fan as anybody.
Yeah.
But I get... It's kind of like Conor McGregor. I get kind of sick of these guys that are just sitting home on Twitter instead of being active. So I know he says he's now in the heavyweight game, which, okay, we'll see that when something's announced. But if you're in Blades or Lewis's shoes, whoever wins that fight, you got to make the same exact argument for them. That why does one of them go out and sign up for a fight with Rosenstrike and risk what they've got going?
If either one of them, can you look up Curtis Blades' record? If either one of them, I think, wins that fight, even if someone gets a title shot before you don't fight again until you get your title shot, regardless of who it is.
Yeah. So to me, if Stipe Ngannou happened December, January, and then let's say Stipe wins and you get Jones Stipe in June.
Yeah, I mean, you're a year and a half.
If you're Lewis, why do you want to sit around for a year and do nothing? You can make the same argument for them, the guys that have been active.
Right.
Curtis Blades is 14-2-0 and 1 no contest.
What are his last 4 fights?
Let me go find that for you. January 25th against Junior Dos Santos. September 7th, 2019 against Abdurakhmanat. Something to that extent.
You can pass on that one.
March 23rd, Jay Willis.
No relation?
Clearly not. I think there's some more melanin in that. 24th. November 24th, 2018 against Ngannou.
Those were all...
So he fought basically once.
Were those wins or
those
losses?
weren't all wins, right?
He'd have lost to Ngannou, right?
Yeah, he lost to Ngannou in 2018. But I believe he's coming off 3 wins here. He's won his last 4. He fought against Volkov on June 20th, 2020. So he's on a 4-win streak right now.
Okay. That helps his cause a little bit.
I don't know. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dana White goes to the beat of his own drum, and he's not going to worry about what other people think. But I get what you're saying about Jones, and I agree with what you're saying, but I'm not completely convinced that he doesn't get a main event fight against
somebody heavyweight.
Rosenstrike, Lewis, Blades, somebody of that nature to prove himself.
So you said the other day you had a theory about Jon.
Yeah, maybe he's not going to heavyweight, and then Cormier and his team are just getting together. They're just going to have, like, 2 fights, and they're just the 2 of them.
Like street fights?
Yeah.
That would end really bad for Cormier.
Obviously, we think he's going to heavyweight, but
So let's say this scenario plays out like you just said. Stipe wins later this year. Jones, Stipe sometime next spring, and Jones wins. Do you think there's any chance that they talk Cormier coming back?
No.
No.
would they give Stipe another shot at that point, and then Lewis Blaze winner has to wait again?
There's something that's a great question, and usually the impact of that answer is dependent on if Jon comes out and dominates that fight. It's just completely one-sided.
If it goes 5 rounds and it's
If it's a good
3-2.
fight and it's like we need to do another matchup, that's different. But if you come out, if Jon comes out and finishes him in the first 3 rounds and it's pretty dominant, they probably won't give him a rematch. They'll give a shot to somebody else.
Yeah. It's been a while at heavyweight where we had a list of 5 legitimate contenders.
Right.
Heavyweight used to be real stacked, and then the last feels like 5 or 6 years, there's been 3 guys that kind of rotate up there.
I think it's one of the hardest divisions because of they're all pretty good up there. Curtis Blades is a great fighter, but all it takes is you get smoked by one punch, and it's shit. Now I've lost a fight, and I gotta go back and prove myself. I gotta win 2 or 3 more.
Dos Santos was winning that fight against Rosenstruck, and then he just
Yeah.
threw a punch, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what happens. I mean, I don't know. It's just that's a tough division. It's a really, really tough division. So I saw a tweet today. I want to ask you guys this question. I actually responded to it. Kid I know, great kid. The question
Is that your buddy?
This isn't a stupid LeBron question.
No, it's a UFC question.
Okay.
Henry Cejudo said, "I fought DJ and Marlon with no legs. This 2-pump chump broke his nail and can't compete." Which that's what I was talking about. Really pisses me off. We don't know how hurt this guy is. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this kid I know said, he tweeted Dana White and said, "Please bring back Cejudo, pay him what he's worth, and let's see him back on the stage." My response was, "I'm okay with Cejudo being paid but coming back, but he needs to quit with the childish effort to promote a fight. His actions do the opposite of promoting a fight. People watch him in hopes he gets KO'd since he acts like an asshat." Do you agree or disagree with that? I mean, I get so tired of when he was fighting, the shit he would do, and that's not even promoting a fight. You're being a clown. It's the WWE.
That's exactly what I was going to say. This last fight going into his, whenever that was, against Dom Cruz, yeah, he was promoting it exactly. I don't know how I worded it at the time, but WWE promoter putting on this fake act of not being yourself. And I just hate, if you're a retired athlete.
Claim you're retired.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, as of right now, he says he retired. So
right. Clock is ticking on that one.
If you're a retired athlete, you've paid enough dues to comment on things, whether it's on TV or you get asked something by a reporter or even Twitter. But I think at some point when you're retired, you should crank down the notch on your extreme criticism.
And patting yourself on the head.
Yeah.
And act like you're coming back.
Right. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with
Let
this.
me spin it back to you, Kyle. You said that you don't think the publicity works when he's the WWE style. Don't you think the UFC kind of needs the anti-hero, or any publicity is good publicity, even if it's everybody wants to go see him get his ass whooped?
They got Dana White, though. They don't need...
Dana White's not the anti-hero of his own fucking company, let's be honest.
So I get what you're saying. But unfortunately, I think the UFC is a sport that has a lot of purists as far as the mixed martial arts, the jiu-jitsu backgrounds, the Muay Thai, the roots and the history of the sport. I think there's a lot of that backs it, that they don't want to see it. These guys, most of these guys, there might be guys who don't like each other and go out there and they talk a little shit and they get in a fight. But how many times you see those guys still shake hands at the end of the fight? Because there's a mutual respect of like the effort that goes in to get in that ring and what it takes to go 3 rounds or 5 rounds.
So there's with Cormier and Jones, like they don't like each other, but I think there's that respect factor.
No, there's not. They personally hate each other. 100%.
I would think there's
Jones
respect,
game,
like fighting.
Yeah,
wise, there's respect there.
Yeah, Jones gave him, when he knocked him out last time, he went over and I think he actually kissed the top of his head. But
I think the prime example of what you were saying was we go back to McGregor's fights with Nate Diaz.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Those two guys hated each other. Their press conferences were almost more entertaining than the fights because they would, go at it. But it was a legitimate, even watching it, you knew it was a real hatred. These guys don't like each other. Everything they're saying is true. Maybe not true, but I really feel this way. I'm really saying this to you rather than I'm going to act like a scripted clown.
You mean like the Mayweather McGregor pre?
Yeah, that was all.
That was just
boxing.
Right. Yeah,
this is.
I think there's enough.
But you get where I'm going.
I do.
Where it's like
there's enough of these guys that have been in the same camps or have changed camps and know each other and legitimately hate each other, and the hatred is real. There's enough of that, and that's what I want to see versus some guy that maybe hasn't even met his opponent and goes on Twitter and tries to promote it like he's Don King. And I don't know. I watched the UFC because it's real fighting.
Right. It's the purest. Like you understand what it takes to.
Yeah.
We're talking. I think about Cejudo and his bullshit antics. The one that stands out to me is he showed up to his last face-off with Cruz, and he had a bag full of pillows with like Dillashaw's face on it, Cruz's face on it, somebody else's. He like pulled them out and was like kicking them. Pillows with people's faces on them. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, are we 12?
I think my 2-year-old kicks pillows.
But I get what you're saying. Like, does the UFC need that heel? There's a ton of them. There's a ton of them that people don't like. I just think people don't want that WWE style promotion because the people who truly understand and enjoy that sport, they're purist. There's a large group of, I'm going to call them casuals, that watch it and just say they think all the fights suck unless everyone just got knocked out in one punch. Am I wrong?
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, we watch a lot of fights, and I'm like, wow, it was a pretty good chess match. That guy just there's a respect there. It's unspoken. They know what that guy's skill set is. They know it's, and vice versa. So you're trying to play this game of, do I throw a punch? If I do, I open myself up. That guy's got good takedowns. Like, there's a high level of fighting there that I think gets unnoticed by too many people. Just my personal thoughts.
Yeah.
That's the chess match thing. Kind of leads me to recall the Jim Miller Vince Pichel. Do you remember that? It was on the undercard.
Yep, I do.
They kept talking about Jim Miller being a black belt in BJJ and Pichel only being a brown belt. Well, every time they got to the ground, it seemed like Pichel was just manhandling Miller. And it almost makes you wonder who these guys are training with for a brown belt to dominate. I mean, when Miller would be in guard, he would let Vince pass guard every time. And then when he would get on top, he would mount Pichel. He'd get to half guard and look like he was going to pass through and go for any sort of jokes, right? It was like probably 5 times I said, finish it, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was almost like he was confused. And I'm like, this does not look like a black belt rolling with a brown belt, especially not after you struck him in the face 20 times. You'd think he'd be able to dominate that.
I don't know exactly where brown belt is on the scale, but
it's one below black.
One below black.
Okay. So, yeah, for them to hype that up on the broadcast of like a brown belt has put in obviously a substantial amount of time, and anybody fighting training has put in a substantial amount of time.
Right.
To me, a brown belt beating a black belt is kind of like, if a scratch golfer and a 2 handicap go out and have a match and the 2 handicap wins, it's not necessarily shocking, right? I'm not saying you're wrong about anything you're saying. I'm just,
no, I understand
for them on TV to hype up the fact that
he's the difference.
Well, maybe they were saying the opposite, but I
get what you're saying.
It doesn't shock me that a brown belt could have one good fight against a black belt.
That doesn't shock me as much as watching how poorly the black belt rolled.
Right. Yeah.
when he's
Okay.
missing every
Yeah,
opportunity that comes his
Yeah,
way.
Jim Miller's been around a long time.
I see what you're
too.
saying. Yeah.
Might be a little.
He's one of those guys. Yeah, maybe that's where you're going. Might be a little tired. He has had a shitload of fights.
Yeah, he's up there in age. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I
what's
have it pulled up
his-
right now. He's 32, 15, and 0. So yeah, that's got to be close to.
Yeah.
He's
That's got to
probably
be close to the top of anybody's amount of fights in the UFC, right?
Cowboy Cerrone. Probably's got.
Yeah. In the UFC alone, if those are all in the UFC, that's up there, big time.
Let's see.
Probably most professional fights that I can think of off the top of my head is Alistair Overeem.
Overeem, yeah.
I just looked up most UFC fights, and it says Donald Cerrone with 34. So those other fights are just all pro sanctioned fights that he's got.
Cerrone signed in another fight, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anybody, anytime, anywhere. Which is motto.
Give him Jon Jones.
You'd probably take it.
Oh, let me update that because it also says right below and Jim Miller. They're both tied at that same amount.
34.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he's
That's a lot of
currently had the
fights.
most,
How old is Jim?
Let's see.
He's got to be getting late 30s now.
At least.
37.
He's 36.
Oh, damn.
That's pretty old for a fighter to take a beating. And
We got a
Holy shit.
turn of events
How'd
here.
this game get 4 to
I know what I feel like at 30, almost 35. I can't imagine
Cross-check
fighting
to the
40
nose.
fights and yeah, it's crazy.
Huh.
So a couple other fights coming up that I'm pumped for. Anderson Silva is fighting Uriah Hall. Dana White said this will be Anderson Silva's last fight.
How old is Silva? gotta be up there,
He's
isn't
gonna be late 30s as well.
I would think he's in his 40s.
It's almost so. It's really sad. Like what happened to Silva makes me wonder what would have happened to him if he doesn't break his leg.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that guy was on top
That's
of
all
the world.
whenever I hear his name, that's all I think about.
Yeah.
Guy was on top of the world, and he got.
45.
Yeah.
He's how old?
45.
Yeah, so he's done.
Yeah.
He's done for this.
Up until the fight where he broke his leg against Weidman.
That was
He-
probably 7 years ago.
Uh,
Before I
At
even.
least 5.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago.
Silva's lost to Chris Weidman. When was that? Up until that fight, you always had this argument between Silva and Jones of who was the greatest fighter.
Everyone wanted to see that super fight.
Yeah, because you could at that time prior to him breaking his leg against Weidman, you could argue that Silva had that crown of the
What's he
of the
fight at?
greatest ever.
Who, Silva?
Yeah.
185.
85. So they probably would have had to meet at 195 or something.
Yeah.
That feels like it was yesterday, but it was 2013, so you guys were right on the money.
Wow, that was nasty.
And then he got
see
knocked.
that?
He got
yeah,
knocked
yeah.
out by somebody too. Right after that, Silva did.
Yeah,
He just never was the same, and it was unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean,
he went on to take that short notice fight against Cormier, I believe, right at heavyweight.
Yep.
And that
there's a heavyweight win for Cormier on his that he was like
Yeah.
bragging about. And it's like, come on,
against-
man.
Against a 40-year-old 185.
Guy was probably 44 at the time, and just he
He-
took it on a week's notice.
You think he wants to fight me next?
He happened to, whoever, I can't remember who Cormier was supposed to fight that time, but Silva just happened to be in this city. It was probably Vegas. He just happened to be there and said, you know what, I'll fight him. And so Cormier probably weighed 60 pounds more than Silva
Yeah.
did in that fight.
That's crazy.
But yeah, you're right. That is a good example. That's a
Greatest
that's a
greatest
win.
heavyweight of all time.
That's a win on Cormier's record.
Yeah.
He fought Weidman twice in a row.
Yep.
Yep. And then he fought Diaz, and then Bisping.
Diaz,
Who knocked him out? Did Bisping? No. Somebody knocked him out.
Bisping.
He was dancing around doing his thing, and someone caught him on the chin.
That was
Wasn't
Weidman.
on-
Was that Weidman?
The second,
Yeah, the second
one
one.
against Weidman.
He lost to him twice, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it was.
Yeah,
That's
that was
why I kept
Weidman.
thinking it was Weidman that knocked him out. So
Yeah, that's where he had his hands down and was
and Weidman caught
dancing,
him.
and Weidman just knocked him out. Yeah.
He was doing his Anderson.
The WWE John Cena, you can't see me.
He was just doing his
Wobbles back
typical
and
like,
forth.
yeah, just doing his typical Silva
that-
thing.
You still got his list up there.
I do.
When did he fight Cormier? He fought Cormier somewhere. I assume that was in Vegas.
That was a stat pattern.
He fought Daniel Cormier July 9th, 2016.
That would have
2016.
been in Vegas International Fight Week.
Yep.
That's when that was.
Yep. So that's why.
So Silva was in town because of all the.
Yep.
He was a Hall of Fame member.
Happened to be in Vegas.
And then, so the other fights coming up. I mean, Silva. We have the Lewis fight is announced.
Mm-hmm.
We have the light heavyweight title announced with those boys, Reyes. Which I kind of question why Santos didn't get that. I'm assuming he's not healthy to fight yet. Yeah, he might be back to training, but he might not be cleared to fight.
He's the one that tore like all 5 ligaments against Jones.
Yeah. Both knees, yeah.
That's the one fight against Jones where why did you not finish that fight?
Yeah.
For Jon Jones.
Yep.
What was the other? Gaethje and Khabib's coming up. Which I'm pumped for that one. So some good fights coming up this winter.
They just announced. I always enjoy watching Holly Holm. I think she's one of the. She's almost kind of like the Cerrone. Just keep signing me up. I'm going to keep fighting. I'd like to see her.
I'd love to see Holly make a run. Yes, make a run and win.
She's one of the. Seems like the good, positive personalities that the UFC has, and it'd be nice to see her get a couple wins.
If you ever want to see a good video, right after she beat Rousey, won the belt. Look it up on YouTube. There's a guy that serenaded her in the stadium. Do you remember that? The guy that had the question, the fan question?
I don't remember.
We'll look it up after this. It's pretty funny.
I don't remember that happening.
Yeah. Do you guys want to move on to 3 stars?
You want to get our golf bet in?
We can get our golf bet in, yeah. So what is the bet? We explain the bet and how much. Is it $20?
Yeah. You want to do $20?
Sure.
$20.
Top 2.
Here. So we're going to choose a guy. Each of us are going to choose a guy in the top 30 in the FedEx Cup rankings.
Low flying geese.
You got a duck in here? Pet duck. Then a guy we're going to choose between 31 and 70 and 71 plus. Yep. And then it'll go, the winners will be based off the lowest combined number at the end of the FedEx
So this is for the entire playoffs?
Entire playoffs, so the next 3 weeks.
You don't want to do earnings again?
So for
earnings seems to be pretty straightforward.
Is it FedEx Cup earnings or tournament earnings?
Yeah, I mean, because isn't it earnings jacked up in the last week?
Yeah, that makes it more exciting, doesn't it? Because you want your guys to make it the whole way.
You can make that same argument for Morikawa at the major. The purse is much bigger.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys want to do? Earnings or just where they finish?
I'm not in charge here.
Yeah, this is your bet.
I was going to go just off their finish.
I say earnings.
All right.
FedEx Cup earnings.
All right. Let's do earnings.
So if you pick the winner, you basically win because they get the $10 million purse. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, but what is it for second?
Yeah, well, are we gonna? That's the thing,
we
right?
We do total points. Well,
if you just do earnings, just don't include the $10 million in it because they still win like.
That's a bonus check. You still basically have to
They still win like
Lake,
if they win East Lake, they still win like 1 point.
Yeah, it's 2 separate.
So
$5 million. Or
tournament winnings for the next 3 weeks.
Tournament winnings.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
And we should say so the reason you picked the numbers, like we're gonna pick one golfer between 1 and 30 on the FedEx Cup rankings because. At the end, for the championship, to move on to East Lake, you have to be within the top 30.
Right.
So we're basically going off today's standings.
Yep.
One guy from the top 30, then 31 to 70 moves on.
I was going to say, to add more clarity, this week it's the top 125.
Correct.
It gets cut to the top 70 next week. And then the top 30 go to the Coca-Cola Championship, I think they call it still.
Yeah, Tour
It's
Championship.
at East Lake regardless.
Yeah.
Right. So we're just kind of using those thresholds based on today's standings. And we're picking one golfer
from each
from the top 3
sections.
Go ahead. You can go first.
All right. My 71 plus, I'm taking Alex Noren.
Okay. Well, should I write this? No. I'll get it from you later.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Yep. My 71 plus, I'll take Tommy Fleetwood.
My 71 plus is Ricky Fowler.
I knew that was coming.
Hopefully he doesn't miss any 6-inchers. My 71 plus is Harold Varner III.
It's a good one.
Yep.
So I'm going Matt Wolff, 31 to 70.
All right. I will take Patrick Cantlay.
Rory.
I got Matt Wolff as well. I'm sticking with the Copenhagen gang.
Almost took Matt Wolff, but I'm like, your mom know you chew?
I was just going to say that.
And my top 30 pick, just for Kyle, I'm taking Bryson.
Oh, that's not what I expected him to say.
So next week, Taylor, you
trunk
sit there.
Slamming, trunk slamming.
Adam sitting there.
Yeah. I got to go with my boy Justin Thomas.
I'm going to go with a stretch, even for top 30. I'm going to go with a former FedEx Cup champion, Billy Horschel. Mm-hmm. He plays well this time of year, and he started last week.
Cash cow. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and pick Dustin Johnson.
You better
the king
hope,
of the Copenhagen crew.
Yeah,
So.
you might hope the Copenhagen crew.
Jeez.
Who's on the Copenhagen crew?
Oh, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Matt Wolf. I mean, Jason Duffner, Harold Varner. You ever see that guy?
Yeah.
I hope he carries a whole roll in his bag. My God.
Koepka chews Grizzly, though.
No, he chews Kodiak. That's even worse
Or
than
Kodiak,
a welfare
yeah.
bear. That's like
It's a bear.
can't support my family starter pack right there.
I need to chew butt. All right, let's move on to our 3 stars of the week.
My God.
I'm going to go first, and I'm going to stick to golf. The 3rd star of the week is Jim Herman, the 42-year-old who won.
The CPA.
Yeah.
Who?
He won last week. 42 years old. He was one shot outside the cut with 4 holes left on Friday. Made the cut on the number. You gonna make it over there, Copenhagen crew?
Yes.
Spit on himself.
He's now 54th in FedEx Cup points. Up until last week, his best finish was T27, and he had 192 FedEx Cup points in the prior week. He actually made a comment to somebody that he was hoping to just do enough to make the Korn Ferry Finals.
Right.
That's what his hope was.
I did hear a stat which is mind-boggling when you think about it. Jim Herman has 3 PGA Tour wins. Tony Finau has 1.
What?
Jim Herman also won all 3 with each one of them with a different putting grip.
Putting stroke.
So my 3rd star of the week is Jim Herman.
Moral of the story: set your bar low, and good things will happen. Right?
He said he told his caddy. He said I was struggling with the driver, and I missed like the first 4 fairways. He's like, I just told him it's gonna be a quick week.
Right.
So turned it around.
Sweet. My 3rd star. I'm watching over my shoulder here.
Calling a last-minute audible or something?
No. So we got the Canadiens and the Flyers game on right now. It was 4-2, so they must have reviewed that last goal.
Yeah, they must have reviewed it.
But they were about to yank Carter Hart and put Brian Elliott in net. Philly was.
I thought did they put him back
They
in?
may not have because the goal didn't count. Anyways, what I'm getting at is the ironic part is Carter Hart was about to get yanked from that game, and he's my 3rd star of the week. So Philly, ever since Ron Hextall left Philly in I don't know, it's been at least 20 years. Philly has had this rotating door of goalies. They cannot find a starting goalie. Carter Hart is just 22 years old, recent draft pick of theirs. He's come in and been dominant. And this series against Montreal, was it game 3? No, yeah, game 3. He became Philly's youngest goalie ever to have a shutout in the playoffs. And then he went out and had a shutout the next game, too. So he had back-to-back shutouts earlier this week at just 22 years old, which is very impressive to me. So
Very.
Phillies goalie, Carter Hart, my 3rd star of the week.
I'm going with a goalie for my 3rd star as well. Marc-Andre Fleury. Became tied 6th with Ken Dryden for most post-playoff wins for a goalie.
How much beer have you had?
None. He tied Ken Dryden for 80 wins in the playoffs.
What game did he play? Hasn't Leonard been playing?
He played game 2, 3.
Okay. All right. I was going to say,
and
he's pretty good from the bench.
It's easy wins.
They were alternating until Leonard did play the last 2.
Yeah.
He played 4 and 5, so maybe it was game 3.
Okay.
And I think he probably won't get it this year, but he's 8 away from being top 4. There's 2 guys tied at 4 and 5 with 88 wins. So he's got, obviously, probably a slim chance this year to get 8 more wins, but because Leonard's playing well, but he's got a chance. So 6th all time for Marc-Andre Fleury.
Excellent.
You got any stars over there? Or you want to go with the dud for the week?
I'll stick with the dud format.
All right, we'll wait until our stars are over. My 2nd star of the week is Charlie Woods, Tiger Woods' son. 11 years old, won a 9-hole U.S. kids golf event, shot 33. I looked up the course. It was 2,500 yards for kids, which actually isn't that short for 11-year-old.
No.
The 2 par 5s are around 400 yards, and a couple of par 3s a little shorter, but some of the par 4s were like over 300 yards. So bogey-free 33 with his dad on the bag.
Could you imagine being the other dad in that group?
Yeah, when she took a picture with a guy. But I read somewhere, someone was like, how'd you know that guy woke up in the morning and was like, I got to go caddy for my kid at a damn golf tournament. And you show up and your Tiger Woods is there like, hey, what's up, man? Probably made his day.
And he won by 5, right?
Yes, he won by 5. Coming to a golf course tournament near you, Charlie Woods is going to be whooping everybody's ass really soon.
If he could make it to the tour, you imagine the pressure that would be on him.
I think
there probably could be no greater pressure on an athlete than Tiger Woods' son making it.
Have you seen his swing?
Yeah, I have. It's legit.
If he hits a growth spurt and he gets to be like 15, 16, he's going to start kicking everybody's ass.
I thought the best part, everyone was wearing shorts, even Tiger, and Charlie's wearing pants. You got dressed the part, right?
Golf pros wear pants.
You didn't wear pants.
So my second star of the week is Charlie Woods.
I like it. My second and first star, of course, we've already talked about, but second star of the week, he's electrifying baseball at the moment, so I'm going with Fernando Tatis Jr.
I'm going to second that, so we'll just stick with
You're
this.
seconding that? Okay. I know we're doing stars of the week, but I have his season stats, and so he's hitting 310. He's got 11 home runs, which I believe leads the majors, 28 RBIs, and one of the forgotten stats, the old school stats, is runs scored.
Yeah.
He's got 23 runs scored, which is huge through 20 games so far. Yep. The reason I put up those season stats, I haven't studied the league yet, but to me, those numbers through 20 games puts him on pace for potential Triple Crown.
Right. Yeah, so. He's obviously the only thing, Blackman is the only thing that hurt him. But
yeah, Blackman hit 500 or whatever the hell he's hitting still. But.
Yeah.
So, Tatis Jr., my second star of the week.
He is my second star as well.
For all the same reasons.
Dude, like I said, I bought a shirt last night even. I was pumped.
Which one did you buy? They got like 12 uniforms.
The brown.
Like 12 uniforms.
Old school brown. That's the only player shirt they have.
You got to buy the painter hat, too.
I wish I had some others, but I had to.
My first star of the week is Alex Smith. Back in pads. I don't know why this is funny.
Can I second that?
Back in pads after 21 months of what looked to be career-ending leg injuries. So Alex Smith is my first star of the week.
Yep. Feel good story. You want to second that?
I'll second. I'll give an honorable mention.
Okay. All right.
It's more honorable than it's not first star. Charles Barkley calling Skip Bayless a punk ass on live TV last night.
I like it. My first star, we've already talked about it a little bit, but Nathan McKinnon, like I said, he's closing that gap on McDavid as the greatest hockey player on the planet at the moment. The 5-game series against Arizona, he had 10 points, and he has scored. They had the round-robin games also, so they've played 8 games so far. He's got points in all 8 games. Nathan McKinnon, he looks – I think every once in a while in all the major sports, you get into the postseason, you see a certain player that just takes over like he wants that trophy.
Damian Lillard?
Yeah, Lillard's doing it now. I mean, we've seen like guy like Patrick Mahomes do it recently in the NFL and eventually hoist the trophy. Right now, Nathan McKinnon is doing that in hockey. So if you get a chance to watch the Avalanche games, they're going to have tougher matchups going forward. Arizona was a little bit easy, but that kid is just – he looks like he can taste that Stanley Cup already.
He helped my DraftKings tonight.
Yeah.
So is that.
I saw you tweeted DraftKings. You were pissed off.
I'm pissed.
Games get postponed. You can't change your lineups.
Well, it's not like they postponed it before the 7:05 start time. The Braves postponed. I looked it up. It was like 7:18 when they postponed it, and then I can't change my lineup. I had 3 guys. My boy Christian Pace making his MLB debut tonight.
The fact that you didn't get points for those players does not surprise me. The lock time, it got postponed after the lock time.
Right, so they should allow me to switch them.
They used to. They used to. I thought they did. Maybe some sports, but
if a game gets postponed after the start time, they should allow me to, because it was delayed. The game hadn't even started. It's not like it's not like they played an inning and then stopped. But
speaking of playoffs, I know not big NBA fans, but the Blazers did win last night. They beat LeBron.
He had a hell of a game, though.
Did they win?
No, but
It's the playoffs. You got to win.
So my question to you guys is, so I want your opinions.
Lillard is better than LeBron.
Bold statement.
Sorry, what was the question?
Everyone's saying it's a fluke. It's just game one. Trailblazers have no chance. I think there's a definite possibility that Portland could win that series. I mean, we're talking about everybody coming back off the same layoff. Everybody's healthy on every team. And Damian Lillard, no one's playing better than maybe about Big Dick Book, but he's not in the playoffs. But no one's playing better right now than Lillard. And
yeah, so I wouldn't say it's a fluke. I think Portland's legit, but obviously LeBron's one of those guys who can just put his team on his shoulder when he has to. I think they'll come out and play tomorrow night like they did last night, and they potentially could lose again. If they lose again tomorrow, like you'll see LeBron put up 50.
These best of fives.
I was just going to ask that.
That's a good question. I was thinking it was best. I was thinking it was best of 7. If it's best of 5,
if it's best of 5 and Portland won game 1, then they 100% have a legitimate chance of winning this.
I was thinking it was best of 7, but you're right. It might be best of 5.
We somewhat already talked about it with hockey, the qualifying round that was best of 5 to get into the playoffs. There were 3 or 4 upsets that nobody would have predicted.
Right.
And like you say, coming out of this layoff, anything goes, man. So I don't watch enough NBA to really speak too confidently on this stuff, but Damian Lillard is a legitimate.
He's been on fire
superstar.
since he came back.
I keep seeing on Instagram certain things. Hasn't he had like multiple 60-point games already?
He had 2, and he was voted bubble MVP by his peers.
Yeah. So from my 100-foot view, if Portland won that series, it wouldn't shock me.
Right.
So
what do you got over there? Anybody got it? Best of 5, best of 7s?
I don't know if 100-foot view is the right
I believe
saying.
it's best
there.
of 5s.
Is it?
Yeah, it's hard to find.
That first round might be best of 5s.
Yeah. So you might see LeBron put up 50. But, I mean, he was like 28, 16, and 17 last night, which is... So once that... And Russ won't like this, but I didn't realize he led the NBA in assists this year, which seems crazy for a guy that's been in the league, 17 years.
I mean...
Great
stat, but he always has a ball in his hand, too.
Right, but to lead the league in assists seems crazy to me. But
I just think we're not used to someone doing that at that size.
Right.
All right, so I guess that jumps to the dud. But first, I kind of changed my mind. I do want to pick one quick star, and I think might be somewhat of an inside joke unless you're on Instagram. The featured group in the Thursday night league. I don't know if you saw Edna Frank played Club Pro Guy. She was bombing her driver at least 180 yards, and the way she hit her 9 wood and her 11 wood.
She was dialed in from 100 from 100 yards.
But anyway, on a serious note, the dud of the week obviously goes to Segundo Oliva Pinto. Not him, but his caddy.
Still can't believe this.
Quarterfinal match, correct?
Round of 32.
Yeah, one before the quarters.
They're on the 17th hole against
18th.
Tyler.
18th.
Oh, it was on 18, wasn't it?
That was all square going up 18.
On 18, and he's in the green side bunker. I guess you could call it that. Might have been 20 yards short of the green, but regardless. And he's outside at the bunker taking some practice strokes, and the cameras are directly on him and his caddy. Pivotal part of the story here. And you see his caddy walk into the bunker, which is kind of unheard of to begin with. What are you going to do in there? And then he reaches down and decides to, I don't know, rub some dirt in his hands.
Build a sandcastle?
Build a sandcastle, whatever you want to call it, which is, I mean, in stroke play, it's a violation, but in match play, that's loss of hole.
Loss of hole.
And when you're all square on 18, what does that mean?
You lost the match.
Which, to add insult to injury, I mean, that sucks on its own to lose a match, not even by swinging your own club, but by this caddy you picked up who's apparently a local caddy.
It was
even though
assigned to
no
him.
one seems to know this dude.
Right.
Conspiracy theory there.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, no, finish the story and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
He then goes on to talk to the cameras and say that he did not commit the violation.
They had an
when you
aerial.
could still see his hand mark in the bunker.
Yes.
And they had like an aerial like straight down on him doing it.
Yeah.
The kid was the Segundo kid when they interviewed him afterwards. It was a total gentleman.
Yeah.
The way that he didn't throw the guy under the bus when he had every right to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see
who knows?
Scarpacci go on and win.
But he could, and he obviously could have still lost the match. You don't know, but still.
My question is, and I legitimately don't know this. So, obviously, like you said, this was match play. That scenario, that penalty is loss of hole. Could the other kid decline that penalty?
He tried.
He did try.
Yeah.
He asked. He said, "Is it just like a
He said,
stroke?"
can it just be a stroke?"
Stroke?
And
Yeah.
he was like, "No." I think he like felt bad.
I
no
would
one
too.
wants to win that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is. I know it's the rules of golf, but like, it just doesn't feel right.
So
That
I
kid
mean, like
should
leaving
lose.
flag sticks in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys continue.
Well, I was going to say, if it was his own caddy that he brought and he made that mistake, then okay, your own caddy screwed up. But you got to sign this caddy, and then he goes out, like you say. I hadn't heard about if there are conspiracy theories out there, but you get to sign this caddy, and then he does this dumbass move. Like it just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, it was assigned to him. They said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was JT Poston's caddy. I think Aaron Fleener, maybe. I think his last name is Fleener. I think it's Aaron. So he tweeted after. He's like, I understand it's the rules. He's like, but what am I gonna do? Like, go in there and be like, hey, JT, it's sand in there. Like, if it's wet.
Right.
If
Yeah,
it's
what was his end goal? What were you going to do?
Well, and I think his point was like, I understand it's a rule, like, but all I can do is like feel it and be like, hey, it's sand or it's wet. But any guy can walk in there with his feet, tell that it's kind of mushy.
I was watching it live, and I'm like, for whatever reason, I noticed instantly. I'm like, why is? At first, I noticed like, why are you even getting in the bunker?
Right.
Like he took 2 steps in the bunker, then he knelt down, rubbed the sand. I'm like, did he just do what I think he
He's
did?
a local caddy. Maybe there was something in there, and he was trying to make sure the
And he was like,
course was good shape.
I couldn't believe. I'm like, oh my gosh. Did anybody else just see that this happened? And then Strafacci's dad and everybody in America watching saw him do this, and then he tried to deny it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not even excusable if there's a loose impediment or something. I mean, that's the player's responsibility,
Right.
especially when you're.
And it wasn't even close to the golf ball.
It was 10 feet away from it.
It wasn't even
anyway,
close
so.
to the golf ball. So I don't know what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Big dud.
Oh,
of the week.
one at least last quick thing before we go. Ben Cook. Did you see
Yes,
that?
congrats to Ben
Lit
Cook.
it up this week following his wedding. Next day, decides he's going to play so he can qualify for another PGA championship, hopefully.
That's a hell of a wife.
20 deep. What?
That's a hell of
his
a
caddy?
wife. No, but to let him play in the tournament the day after
She
the wedding.
caddied
for him.
I know, but
Well, he found a good one.
I mean, I guess you can't really go many places right now, so maybe that helped.
He went 20 deep in 3 days with an eagle on the 18th hole on the
He
last
definitely
day.
went 20 deep.
Oh my God.
Dude, his mom is listening.
Seriously.
So
Taylor's a nice kid. I just picked him up from church a couple days ago. He needed a ride because the pastor had to stay after who he rode with.
Bible study.
I thought after Saturday maybe he did have a first star of the week. But
We'll get that off here.
That was Sunday.
sorry, buddy.
Anything else, boys?
No,
All right.
it's been fun.
Until next week. Hopefully your mom lets you come back. Later.
Good thing you moved out.